Alrighty, howdy guys. Good to see you again. And hey, this is Christian Yetke with Traditional Masculinity and the Ways of the Bible, Not Man. So I want to go over week 4 of 10 here with you guys and talk about the next step, right? Step 4 or part 4, I guess, of some of the things to be working on to become the best self, your best self, the best you that you can be. And that all stems back from kind of a root problem of fear and being scared. So I want to talk about some fear today. So join me as we talk about fear. And here we go. So we're going to be talking about stop being scared of the world and face your fears. All right. So the world, it's scary. It's going to be. So it's probably about time to be stronger than the fear, right? Overcoming what scares you, whether it's that monster under the bed or whether it's talking to that girl, whether it's just chasing your dreams about who you want to be or think you could be or would like to be or whatever star and BA player, Hollywood actor you saw and you're like, man, I could be something like that. It'd be cool if I could face those fears. So let's talk a little bit about that. And alrighty, here we go. So all progress takes place outside the comfort zone. All right. If you can't grow anything, a plant can't grow. If it just grows, it has to push against the dirt, it has to have an opposing force putting pressure on it. You can't grow as a person if you don't have force and pressure coming against you from the world and whatnot. So you need to grow and you need to face your fears. And that's the only way you can do it is by getting out of your comfort zone, jumping from point to point, wherever that works, or however that works for you. All right. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. You you give people the power, right? You give them power of their words. You give that to them if you value their word, their opinion of you, of what they say more than you do yourself. All right. Even if someone says something bad about you or tells you something scary or whatever the case is, and you just tell yourself, well, that's scary, or oh, you must be right because you said it. It's like, no, I know I need to value my own opinion, and you need to understand how to acquire that and to develop that in yourself. So for bodily training is just slightly beneficial, but godliness is beneficial for all things, since it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. So the reason I wanted to bring this one in here and talk about today was the fact that it is the body. It is great. We are a spirit, we are a spiritual being, and we have a human fleshly body, right? We're not a fleshly body that has a spirit inside of it. So it's the focus is going to be the spirit, right? That is where your strength is. It comes from God. So if we can't even apply and overcome these small, minor physical problems or fears or discomforts, what makes us think that we can do it on the larger scale for the spirit? If you can't walk down the dark stairs and into the basement because we think there's monsters in there. If we can't overcome that fear of talking to that girl, if we can't overcome that fear of actually trying to push ourselves and becoming, whether become the best we can be by that being, taking on that job offer, taking on that new responsibility, taking on something that's going to challenge you. If it's too scary and it makes you afraid, then and you can't do that on just such a small, simple, basic human physiological level, then why would we think that we can do that on the great big, spiritual warfare that is going on every second of every day to every person at all times? Why do we think that we could take on that if we can't take care of just us being a little scared of something? I sought the Lord and he answered me and rescued me from all my fears. God is always there, right? We've talked about this before. He's always there with you in the storm, with you in the pain, with you through the suffering. That doesn't mean he's going to make it easier on you necessarily, because he doesn't say, I'm going to make life easier for you. He he tells us he's going to be there with us in the hard times, and knowing that is all we need, right? I know that this is going to suck, but also he is going to be there with me during this. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distresses. So Again, we're talking about the fact that we know where he's going to be. We know that we're going to still be in distress. We're still going to be in hard times, going through storms, but he's there with us. And when we cry out and we're able to, and we're trying, and we're allow ourselves to lean on him and say, God, I'm here. I need you. I can't do this. I need some help. He is there, and he always has been and always will be. For he will never be shaken. The righteous will be remembered forever. He will not fear bad news. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. All right. He will not fear bad news, right? No matter what it is, no matter what you're going through, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the attack from the enemy is. It didn't say when things were easy or simple or minor. It said, he will not fear bad news. Bad news is bad news. And he is there to spread the good news. He teaches us the good news. So we should not be fearing anything that is bad news. It's like a problem. It's life. We deal with it. We overcome it. But the heart is steadfast because it's trusting in the Lord. It's great. I'm here. I got my feet planted. I know where I'm at. I know what I'm going through. I know what I'm dealing with. And it's okay because I got God with me on my side. And that's all I need to know, right? For he will never be shaken because he is steadfast and he knows who is there in his corner. And there's no one bigger than God. And which of you, by worrying, can add a single day to his lifespan? Right? None of us can add any time to our lifespan, in general, much less by worrying. There's this saying, something rough along the lines of, worrying about a situation only makes you suffer twice. Right? I don't remember where that quote's from or who said it, but it's something along those lines. And it rings true because no matter what you do, whether you're trying to start a business or start a new job or move to a new country or ask that girl out or study for that test, it doesn't matter on what you do because you're going to do the work whether you do it or not, right? Whether you study for the test or you don't, you just wing it, or you actually put in the effort and try or not. If you sit there and worry about something, you're only going to suffer twice because, well, one, if it doesn't go well, then you worried about it, and then now it went bad. Now you just deal with the bad, or you do it whether you put in the work or not. Ideally, hopefully put in the work. That's what we like to talk about here is putting in the work and actually doing your job of putting in your part, right? It takes everyone to, it takes us all to be able to work together to build and create great things. So if you don't put in your work, then you're not going to be able to get there. So putting in that time and effort and seeing what comes from it, right? And it can be great, amazing things. So if you don't worry about something and then it doesn't go well, then it didn't go well. Then you just try again, right? So you suffer twice when you worry about stuff. So don't worry. So stop worrying about things, no matter what it is. It's something to eventually try to let go of and not allow it to overrule you. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So we don't need to be worrying about things that we have no control over, right? There's nothing on this planet we have control over except how we respond to a situation, right? How we physically, mentally, and emotionally deal with the situation. That's all we control, not even our health, not our waking up or going to bed, not other people, not outside events, not the country, not the culture, not anything, just how you respond. So seek first his kingdom and aim to be righteous. Do what he's called you to do and be, and he will allow the good things to happen and work with you. So don't worry about tomorrow. You can't even deal with today. Tomorrow's, it's just worrying and stressing over something that you have no control over. So that's the type of worry and whatnot that you give over to God. That you're like, hey, I can't do this. I really can't. I'm giving this to you. And that's what he's asking us to do. So in the Bible, it says about 365 times, it says, do not fear, do not be afraid. He tells us specifically once every single day for an entire year, just so we can do it again the next year. He says to not be afraid because fear is not of God, right? Fear is of the enemy. That's one of the ways he attacks you and messes with you is he's going to attack you through fear by the unknown. And that's how the enemy works. That's not how God works. He's quite the opposite. Don't be afraid. Don't allow those lies to come in because that's all that the enemy can do, right? what we think we become. What we think, what we perceive, what we allow to go into us is what we will become, right? What it doesn't matter what that is. If you say certain stuff about yourself, and even if it's like all those jokes and fun and games, and you're hanging out with your friends and you get all excited and whatever, and you're like, oh my God, we're in traffic, oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Oh man, if you do that, I'm gonna shoot you. Oh, I hate you, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever type of very negative and aggressive type of language that we say, whether it's to someone else or even to ourselves, especially towards ourselves, we really want to start to refrain from saying those things and doing those things, because the body, the mind, we don't understand the difference between a joke and not. We just know the word. It's a negative word. I'm not even going to go into this into the scientific studies that were done on this. Maybe in the future I will, but there's fascinating information out there that talks about these things of just words in different languages, not even spoken, just written, and they changed the way uh, the life was happening. Anyways, I'll talk about that in the future. But point being, the words matter. It's not what you think about them. It's not what the other person thinks about them. It doesn't matter where you're at, any of it. It matters that the word you say, which leads back to the way your mind is working and what you believe in. So if you're saying it, it's what you're believing, and it's what you perceive and allow to develop and dwell in yourself. So no weapon that is formed against you will succeed. The enemy, he's all about using weapons and lies, and that's not how God does it. He doesn't allow that stuff to happen. He's like, hey, he's like, don't worry. Like, the enemy's gonna attack you, but he can't actually attack you. All he can do is give lies and tell other people and mess with them and mess with you. And that's how the harm will come, is that you will harm yourself, whether it's with those words or actions or thoughts or beliefs, or someone else for that matter. But no weapon, right? Nothing that the enemy comes after you with will be able to work and will be able to succeed, because if you're giving, yourself over to God and allowing him to be your shield, he will be that. But you have to fight against that flesh of those words, of those lies. One of my big, very specific areas to talk about here is building your self confidence and competence. All right. A man cannot remake himself without suffering, for he is both the marble and the sculptor. All right. As you like this famous picture here on the right, it's all over, it's well known. It is that you are who you are. And if you want to be something else, if you want to be something more, if you want to be something better, different, whatever the case is, you have to be willing to put in that work, and you have to sculpt yourself. All right. It takes time. People dedicate their entire lives to it, and you're going to, like, every second of every day, you're going to be changing something about you, and you're going to keep growing into whatever that season and that area is that you're wanting to go into. So if you're like that, fat and lazy and weak and doesn't know anything, and just doesn't, and is just existing in the world and does the bare minimum to get by in this world, like so many are, because so many are lost, obviously, and so many are afraid. It's him being able to take that and saying, what don't I need? Get rid of this. I don't need that food. I want to change my diet and be better. What don't I need? I don't need all that sugar. I don't need all those video games. I don't need that porn. I don't need to chase girls all the time. Is like, get rid of what is not needed. And for you in that moment, you're trying to build yourself. You're trying to become the best you can be, and fighting against lies and fears, not being scared. That is such a huge, one of the biggest key components that you can have, because if you can overcome these little lies from the enemy, if you can overcome the dumb stuff that the world tells you and wants you to believe about yourself and the world, and how evil and bad and corrupt it is, and it's like, well, yeah, if all I'm looking at is evil, then that's what I'm going to believe in. But for God has not given us this spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. So he's given us the strength, guys. He's given us like, you can be disciplined. It's something that you do. You do it through consistency. We talked about it before, and we'll talk about it a lot. But being able to being disciplined and having that power, through doing things in love, and because God is love, so doing things through God, who is the love, he will be the one to be able to guide us and bring us to where we need to be. So the most important stuff is building your self-confidence. And I can talk about this so relevantly with me is because I had no self-confidence. I had absolutely zero competency of any kind for the vast majority of my life because I didn't do anything. I believed what everyone else was around and told me. No one did anything with me. I didn't have friends growing up, periods here and there. I had friends and for like a few months, maybe a year or so, but the vast majority by myself, didn't do anything with anyone, was as antisocial, like to the T, to the definitionary T of being antisocial and dead afraid of human beings. I didn't talk to them. I didn't spend time with my own family that I lived with. You know, I I was, just talking to people in general, whoever they were, it was like a no-go, much less trying to talk to girls. Absolutely couldn't do, dead afraid, literally turned and ran away from, I didn't know how things worked. I didn't know how the world worked. I didn't know how I worked. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know any of it. And I had no self-confidence of any kind. I was the tall, skinny, weak, useless, pathetic version. Like there's not anything to me because I didn't do anything with myself. And it wasn't until, many years later that I started to do some stuff and try to build my self confidence. And that came through going to the gym for like 5 years until I actually started. I had progress. And then I was like, oh, well, you know what? Look at this. Like I was here, here's my before and after pictures after all these years. Now I look at that. I am much stronger. I'm much bigger. I do look better. Okay, here's all these great, nice things. And now I'm much more mentally strong. And then the military taught a lot more of that, of being mentally strong and being able to push myself and build discipline. That only came through consistency. And so I built this self confidence, which I had absolutely none, even though people were telling me my entire life that I was all these great things. I had girls that would hit on me here and there, and I didn't believe any of it because I was like, I don't have any self confidence, so I hate myself. And no, you're lying. Like, no, I'm not any of these good things that you're saying. So I absolutely degraded myself as much as you can of self hatred and bringing myself down and talking down to myself as you can. And I did that because I wasn't doing any of the stuff. I wasn't putting in any of the work, and I was absolutely lost. Didn't know or have a relationship with God. Didn't have like all the best people around me to be able to help build that. We were all just like living in the world to the way the world does, partying, drinking, you know just chasing the flesh of the world. And we chased it for a long time and it didn't do any good. So building that self-confidence, it is so important. Like if you don't have confidence, then you can't have competency. Now people will say you can fake it till you make it, and you can fake it, but eventually you're going to run out. There's going to be some time, some situation, some person that's going to see and who is competent, and they're going to call you out on your competency because you don't actually have it. You're just acting like it, or you're just regurgitating what someone else might have said or done, or some other kind of thing. But building your own, right? Go read that book. Put down the phone, turn off the TV, turn off the music, go read that book, go read the Bible, go to the gym, go listen to that podcast, go do something that helps you learn and understand and grow. And then when you grow that self-confidence, that self-competence, that self-belief, because you're going in and doing the work and you're like, well, I didn't know this thing. And most people don't know this thing. But now that I've put in that much time and effort, you know, now I know a lot more about it. Now it's more interesting. Now I want to learn about it more. And then you put that in and you find out that the lies and distractions of the TVs, all social media, all technology, all the social media and all of its lies and all of the world's crap that it has, right? You realize that it's actually just a lie, and it's not doing you really any good unless you use it in the positive way, like social media. You can use that in a positive way. Most don't. Most just sit on there and scroll to death, and I call it death scrolling. And they just sit there and live on it, just scrolling or whatever they do. But if you could take it and you're like, well, here's YouTube University, go watch some podcasts, go listen to some people talk, go type in like random facts I never knew, go learn something that you didn't know and find out something that intrigues you. If you don't find something that intrigues you, fine, keep searching. Something will at some point. If it doesn't, then pick a subject and just go start to learn about it, whatever it is, health, history, psychology, you know, ancient wars, different cultures, something. And then it will After you do that, you will progressively feel and learn and understand more new things. And then you'll understand how much you actually just don't know about anything because there's such a vast amount of information in the world. So I could spend forever on this, honestly. I'm going to try not, but I really want to dig deep into this building your self confidence and your competence because without those, you can't be, you're not going to be anything or probably just stuck with where you're at because you don't believe in yourself because you think, oh, well, I'm here, I'm stuck in this place. I'm not a gym rat, so I'm always going to be fat and lazy and I can't move around or do anything. Or I'm that skinny kid, so there's no way I can be looking like, The Rock or Arnold Schwarzenegger, ever because I'm this small or I don't have that kind of discipline. Everything in life is something that you build and transition into. You make the decision to turn it into who you want to be. If you're spending 10 hours a day on online and in social media, TVs, whatever it was, let's say you're doing that for 10 hours a day. What happens if you change all 10 hours of those to listening to the podcast, going to the gym, learning about your health, taking care of your health, and doing all these different types of things that are going to help you and you're going to learn something from it instead of being stuck in this void and this black hole of distraction of the social media, of the crap in the world. All right. So, anyways, build and work on those. Very, very important when it comes to fighting the fear. Because if you know the truth, if you have the self confidence, then guess what? When you're walking around with your chest out because you've been working on it. So now your chest is out and it's not concaved in, but you can walk with your chest and lead with your chest. And then you're like, I know I'm not afraid of anything. I got confidence, right? They like to talk about how whenever you lead with your chest, because you have a big chest, because you can walk with it, well, then in that case, you have that confidence, right? So confidence and competence go hand in hand. Work on them and build them. And this is not something that just goes, overnight. This takes time. So facing the fears in general, right? Just face the fears. Because on the other side of your greatest fear, which is one, it could be as simple, it could be as big as a concrete wall that you have to bust through. And it could just be as simple as, a paper, just a paper wall that has an image on it that you're dead afraid of. And all you can do is just poke right through it and go, interesting. Oh, that was a lot easier than I thought. All I had to do was face it. So facing that fear. And it sucks. Yeah, it's scary, but that's the whole point of the word fear is that you are facing the fear because you're facing the lie. You're facing the enemy, right? Speaking of which, those who see you will gaze at you. They will ponder over you, saying, is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a wilderness and overthrew its cities, who did not allow its prisoners to go home? When you look back at over the whole chapter before, so this is talking about Satan, right? It's talking about how whenever we see Satan, how the enemy, how weak he is, that all he is he's like that from the what's it called, the Wizard of Oz, right? It's actually that little, sad, weak, frail guy who's actually in the back and he's portraying this big, large, scary, strong, powerful force. And the reality is that Satan is actually just that little pathetic guy in the corner acting and faking it. But we believe what we see. We believe that big Wizard of Oz, type of holographic imaging, whatever it was that's called. But it's fake. It's a lie. We see this big thing and we're like, oh my God, I'm so terrified of that. Like, I'm not, no, ooh, scary. But when you face it and then you realize you ain't nothing. Like no one, like anyone who's actually got something, they're not going to stand up if they don't believe in it, right? The enemy normally tends to run away. Doesn't mean they're not going to come back, but they tend to run away because they're not strong enough and they don't believe enough in what they're fighting for to face you. More is lost by indecision than wrong decision. Cicero here is talking about the very simple aspect of the fact that when we do not take that action, when we do not take that step forward, when we do not face that fear, when we do not try to bust through the wall, we don't even try to put our hand on it and push, we don't do anything. When we don't do anything, it is worse than trying and failing. We talked before about how failure, there's two different kinds. It's the failure of not even trying, which is actual failure, and there's a failure of pushing yourself so hard, so much that you can't even keep up with your own ambitions and your own intensity. So you just got to keep working on it and building it up. You push yourself so hard, then you figure out what you didn't know, you learn from it, and then you push again, and then you keep getting further. So, but not by taking any decision, by just being indecisive, by sitting on your hands, by being scared, whatever that is, for school, for a family, for who you want to be, for building yourself up. Not doing anything is worse than doing something, than doing something wrong, even because you don't even know if it's wrong, maybe, but you will after you do it and you find out that it is wrong. Every man is guilty of all the good he did not do. We, again, about being so scared, terrified of being able to, or being capable of even trying. Like, we all have capabilities. You have the capability of anything you ever could imagine, but you're so scared. You're terrified of what it could be, of what people would say about you, of where it could lead, of messing up, and people laughing at you, whatever the crap is that people are believing these days. Whatever it is, don't even listen to anything that's going on in the background. You got cheerleaders for you, awesome. Appreciate them, thank them, hear them out, but don't listen to any of the naysay. There's a big difference between people who are attacking you and naysaying you versus people who are giving you um, critical advice, or being very specific and trying to help you with something along what you're doing, right? They're like, hey, here's a very let me talk to you about this. So don't listen to the lies of the world. The lies are going to keep you from becoming who you could be, because when you become who you could be, the best self you can be, and you understand and you overcome that lie, like it's straight up blinders that you live with. You live with these blinders on. When you get them off, whenever God takes them off by you facing those fears, when you take them off and you realize, well, I can actually face that. Like, this ain't nothing. Like, I thought that was so scary. Like, I thought this was scary before. Someone told me it was scary, so I never tried it. But it's actually not that bad. Actually, it was easy. Actually, I feel much better now that I'm not scared of something. Because by being scared of something, by having a fear for it, you by definition are giving it strength and power over you. I don't know about you. I don't like the idea of giving something power over me. God himself doesn't even say, hey, I'm going to force my will on you, right? You have to do this, that, and the other. He gives us the option to go to him and to do what he asks and to live in his greatness. He asks, if he's the creator of the universe, which he is, then why would we give ourselves, right? Why would we allow our fear of something to go to this other minor thing that's keeping us from becoming anything that we could ever want? And it's just saying, follow the norm, do what everyone else is doing, be a sheep, right? And then this great actual real power over here is like, hey, I'm not going to force you to do anything. I'm giving you the whole free will situation. But if you come, if you do these couple things I'm telling you, and you work on that, and you become this, everything's going to be much better for you. Like, doesn't mean you're not going to suffer, doesn't mean you're not going to go through the storms, but I'll be there with you in them, and you're going to overcome them. And there's all the psychology and science and and all these studies that talk about how when you overcome a situation, when you overcome fears, when you push through whatever that thing is that's keeping you from doing what you want and should be doing, when you overcome it, then, oh man, it's fascinating, because it just releases like all these endorphins and all this dopamine, and you're like, and you hit this new sense. It's like a new level, right? It's like a new level of life that you achieve of, I overcame this. Like, I won that obstacle. I beat that boss, right? It's like level one boss, level two, level five, level 10 to 100. You overcome it and you fight it and you beat it. But it's like a real life situation, not the games where it's useless. It's real life. And you overcome that. You overcome that. You can't get anything but a sense of confidence and pride, of good pride, right? There's good and bad, but you're like, I overcame that. God was with me. He helped me to overcome that kind of situation. Not, I did that because I'm awesome. It's, I got through that because God allowed me to. So having that kind of pride and being able to overcome that boundary and that barrier, that obstacle, that lie that's in your way. The greatest you, what you want and could be, is on this side. And then what you could be is on the other side of that little fear. And it's a little fear because the little fear is a lie, and it's the enemy. And he is teeny tiny, itty bitty. There ain't nothing to him. And we give him the power by believing in his lies. I don't want to talk too much about girls right now with you guys. However, this is one of the few times I will. And it's very simple on you having to be able to overcome yourself, to build yourself up, and to learn who you are, find out what you're even looking for, because you're pretty sure most of you just don't even know. We don't know until we have other things figured out. You need to have you figured out. You need to have your relationship with God figured out. You need to understand who you're meant to be, who you're called to be, what you're capable of. You need to not be so full of fear. So the one of the few things I'm going to talk to you guys about girls with is as simple as you don't deserve a woman if you can't even control yourself. You can't control yourself if you don't have confidence, if you don't have competence, you don't have a relationship with God, you don't have your identity. There's a lot of things that I am very, very straightforward, strict, and intense on when it comes to something like this. Because why would God allow you to have one of his daughters if you don't have jack about yourself taken care of? Right? If you're so scared, and again, here's the thing. The reason I can say this and talk about it so straightforwardly is because I did this. I did the wrong thing. I did idolize women for the majority of my life and put them as my pedestal. Not God, not even money, just women, sex, that thing. That is what I was chasing. And it did not do me any good, actually. It did me so much more worse than anything else I could have done because I didn't even have myself. I didn't even have my own self confidence at that time or competency. I didn't have any of that because I was living for, all right, I need to find my self worth. I need to believe in myself. And I can only get that through whoever goes home with me. That was the mindset I was chasing, right? However much porn I watched, that's what I'm going to go into this with. And that's what's going to determine on how good I am and how much I know and who wants me and all this crap. And I'm like, I can look back at it now years later and I'm like, how was I that stupid? Like, how could I have literally been that deceived and believe in such a lie? And the thing is, like, we all believe in it until we get those things figured out and taken care of and healed, right? Because we all have an injury, right? We all have a wound that needs to be healed. And if we don't heal it, we don't heal from it. If we don't allow God to fill that hole, that injury, well, then yeah, we're not going to heal from anything anywhere at all. Because only he can actually heal it. We can just allow him and give him the space and say, hey, I want you to come in and heal it, heal me. So no, I don't believe that you deserve a daughter of God's because you are not there yet. And I believe this for me. Like I believe this so intently for me, I still don't even do it. Because I still have plenty of things that I'm working on and working towards and fixing and trying to work, just working towards and working on that God's shown me. He's shown me the purpose and I'm working on that. I can't put all my dedication into that and trying to date, which actually by the way, I'm completely against dating. That's a whole separate thing. But anyways, the thing is that there's something that you have to be working on yourself and get yourself built up, right? On average, people would be 10 to 15 years older. Men would be 10 to 15 years older than the women that they married. In certain cultures, even, decades and much less centuries or millennia ago, men would be far older than women by a good 10 to 15 years, even because it takes time for you to build yourself up, especially if you're lost when you're younger, as most of us, uh, even like as I was, even as most of you are or have been, you have to build yourself up. And if you don't get it whenever you're earlier, like in your childhood and early teens, like it should be, that the father is able to help you with, and your actual father being able to guide you on and help build you up. So if you're not able to do it from there, then you're gonna have to learn and grow up in this day and age like I have, and you find out all the lies of the world, and you're like, all right, how do I deal with this? I don't even know what to do. The world's telling me to stop being, masculine because it's bad, and I need to be more feminine, but that doesn't work for me. But there's this whole it's exhausting, like trying to go against what God's saying, and doing what the world says, and you inherently know it's wrong and it's bad, and you can't live up to it. It's exhausting, and so we just sit there in our depression. And I know this because that's what I did, obviously, for like from 7 to 21. No, from 7 to 24. That's I lived in self-hatred and suicidal desires for that entire time, and only more added to it over my life. And it's all because I just believed and listened to these small lies, and they progressed and got worse and worse and worse. So don't focus on girls, right? This whole ooey gooey, early love, soulmate BS. It's just that, it's BS. It's a lie. It's not real. It's just chasing a physical fleshly desire, which again, if you do it in the right way and you wait for the marriage, it's fine. It's great. But whenever you're doing it, whenever you're young and dumb, you don't have yourself together, you don't even know who you are, where you're at, have anything to offer because you're not confident, you're not competent, you're not mature, you don't make any money, you can't provide anything, you can't protect, you can't defend, you can't do anything that you're called to do. So that takes time. It takes a long time. That takes years and the first couple decades, honestly. Like the first in your 20s and even possibly even into your early 30s or so, depending on when you start, is whenever you want to take that time to work on yourself and build yourself up to becoming these things, being where you want. Like if you actually find that purpose and God shows it to you and you're like, I need to be working on that. You actually find something you want to do, not flipping McDonald's burgers for 12 bucks an hour. You go find something that's worthy of your time and your and of you, right? Go learn a trade. Go do something with your hands and your mind. Go learn how to work with them together and separately. Go build yourself up. Go read the book. Go read the Bible. Go to the gym. Go to work. Go build yourself up. And you can't do any of those things if you are focused on a woman and you're chasing them all the time. Ask me how I know. That's so it takes time, guys. And it's okay because you're not going, your value, your worth, you're not, none of it's going down. You're only increasing it because you're being able to set yourself up more for the family you want to have. Not, well, I had a crappy childhood and family and whatever the case was. So I'm just going to go have a family so that I'm not that. But then you find out in today's world that it actually you end up becoming the exact same thing because you chase the wrong things. You chase the tail, you chase what the world says, go to school, go to college, go get a, uh, go get a degree in something you don't even need, honestly. Go to, go get the mortgage, go get married, go have the kids, go get the car payment, go get all these things. And there's a much better way of working on it. So building yourself up and focusing on building you up. Because if you want to have a woman that's whatever it is, right? Whatever she is, whatever you're like, this is what my woman is, that's ideal, right? Obviously you're going to be attracted to her and you want to be, but you have these, what does she do? What does she offer? What does she bring to me? Does she bring me that peace? Does she bring me that whatever it is? Whenever you find that out, if you even know, but if you can even find that out, okay, are you being the version of that for you? Right? Are you actually being that? Because it says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Not he who finds a girlfriend, not he who finds this hot chick that he saw, not this Tinder date, not he who finds his high school crush, not he who finds this OnlyFans model BS that we have going on in today's world. It says, he who finds a wife. A wife is a thing that is already being done, right? She's already acting and walking in the way of being a wife. So if you want to find the wife, then you need to be the husband. You need to already be acting and walking in those ways. Part of some of the stuff we talk here and some of the stuff that you really need to be looking at into the scriptures more on what you need to do, provide, protect, defend. You need to be capable and competent, and there's a lot of stuff that's involved. And that's why we're supposed to be spending the first 20, 30 years of our life building that up. So then when you're ready, then you can offer that. But if you're not even ready, if you think that you're just going to have a girl and she's going to take all your problems from you, we're not even going to go into the fact that that's a complete turnoff to them. If you're doing that, also ask me how I know. That's all I did. You have a lot of work to do, and you don't deserve one of his daughters if you cannot control yourself, if you cannot even do those things that you are meant to provide and do. Now, if you're at that stage where you already have the family or the girl or whatever the case is, then you have a lot of overtime to do that you need to fix yourself. You need to work on where you're at in life. You need to fix your relationship with God if it needs to be done. You need to work on yourself and get yourself to not being that fat, lazy individual who's not doing anything, who's just existing, who's just allowing the world to beat down and overcome you. You need to stand up, fight for yourself, fight for your family, fight to be, who God called you to be. And that's, again, a whole part of the journey to find. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When we run from these thoughts of who we're supposed to be, we say just the world tells us to go chase the girls and get married and do all the fun stuff. Yay. And it's like, that sounds easy. That sounds fun. Someone who's always wanting to be there with me doesn't always work out that way for one. But then I have to work on myself. Man, I have to go to the gym. That's exhausting. I can't eat cookies and cream and sugar cake and all this crap all the time. You tell me I can't do that? I have to actually eat good quality, healthy food. Man, that's not as cool. You're more scared of what hasn't even happened, right? We run away from pain more than we chase pleasure. And it's a sad thing. But when you can change that mindset of chasing the of going through the pain, and then the pleasure will eventually come, the good things will come in the end. But you got to push through those fears, those lies, that hurt, the suffering. Don't let the lies, the imagination, what the enemy tells you, don't allow him to overcome and distract you and misinterpret what good things God has already called you to. Like I was saying, it takes time, right? Because if you're that, oh well, I don't like history. History is boring. Well, psychology, that sounds stupid. I'm not going to school to be a psychologist. Well, the only way to be able to have a healthy body is if I go to be a nutritionist or dietitian and I become a gym bro, and I'm not like all that, and blah blah blah, like whatever excuses it is that you're listening to. The you today can be completely different. It can be a 180-degree polar opposite person in even a year, 6 months, a year. It doesn't take that much time to change that mindset and that self-belief and self-confidence, but it does take time, and it will only progress. But if you just give it a year, just don't do anything else. Just say, all right, I'm going to change these things. I'm going to give it a year. I'm going to do all these things. And I'm going to see where I'm at. It's not going to take you a year to feel the difference, or to see the progress, or to start to understand what's being talked about here, and where your greatness could be. It's not going to take an entire year to get that, but it will take a little bit of time. And just see what 6 months, see what a year can do, right? You choose on where you want to be and who you want to be, because every man is a warrior inside, but the choice to fight is his own. John Eldredge, love that guy. He's got such great books, and we'll talk about those in the future. But everyone is meant, we're all called to be a warrior. That means you're fighting. It doesn't just mean like Spartans 300, you're going to fight, you have to look like that. And you have to be that intense of a level kind of warrior and battle. We're fighting in a spiritual battle, and it's spiritual warfare every single day, right? You deal with some type of a battle in your life, the battle of fear. People will tell me, because I do cold plunges all the time, and it's freezing cold. It's like 30, 40 something degrees water. I'll stay in there for several minutes, fully submerged. Well, up to my neck, obviously, not my head. I can't hold my breath that long, but I will go through this in physical discomfort. It's not even pain, but it's discomfort, severe discomfort. And people will tell me immediately, as soon as they ask me about it, see about it, hear about it, I mention it, whatever the case is, people will say, like, what is that? I tell them about it. Like, oh my God, I can't do it. Oh, I could never do that. Nope, I'll never try it. They always limit themselves before even thinking about it, before anything other than I hear something that's discomforting. I'm going to limit myself, and I'm going to speak words of negativity, and very being very limited in anything. And I'm going to call out myself of saying, I can't do this thing. I am too weak. I am too scared. That doesn't sound great and easy. So I'm not going to do it. Everyone, like 99% everyone that I talk to or come across, does it. Very few who are got this understanding of, I have to overcome myself, my flesh. I need to overcome that. If I can't, how do I think I'm going to overcome the spirit? Right? How do I think I'm going to go against Satan, against his game of, he's running this world. He's really good at it. He knows what he's doing. He knows you better than you know yourself. He is really good at messing with your flesh and getting you to give into the ease of it and to run away from the hard parts of it. So if you are able to overcome that flesh, there's nothing else, I think, to my understanding of right now, there's nothing that is harder. I mean, not really because it is, but because of the mental game that is played. But there's nothing harder than going intentionally to sit in freezing cold water that's going to shock you. It's going to shock the body. Not like a bad thing, but It's a lot of health and benefits actually, but it just shocks the body and it shocks you because you're like, I would never intentionally do this. People are going outside right now. They're not bundled up in a 8-inch thick coat right now. They're like, oh my God, I'm freezing. So to intentionally go and put yourself in a form of discomfort, people are already saying whatever that form that is, whether that's actually you know putting down the the chocolate ice cream, whether that's actually to go for that walk, to get off the TV, to go eat a steak instead of 5 McDonald's burgers and a bunch of chicken nuggets and whatever they have there. People are just they limit themselves so fast and so easily by just a thought of, oh, well, it's not easy, it's not simple, it doesn't give me that immediate gratification, so I don't want to do it. And yeah, yeah, you're not going to get immediate gratification, and it's not going to help you long term. You can have a lot of fun short term, but it's not going to help you, and it's going to actually harm you more. Not only you, but it's going to harm anyone else, your friends, your family, your coworkers, the family you want to have. And you're not going to be able to do as much, if any, of what God's called you to do and be if you're focused on that little crap there. So just another way of saying, face the fear, stop limiting yourself. Don't, because if you tell yourself, you hear something hard, oh, I'm terrified I'm terrified of heights. I'm never going to go on a roller coaster, right? I think the Superman's the one that goes like all the way up, and then it drops you all the way down. You just watch it happen. Like yeah, I was scared of heights, and then I was like, I need to like not be like that sounds like it sounds stupid to be scared of being high up. Like it's not like I'm gonna go jumping off the side of a mountain anytime soon, not without a parachute at least. But I need to get over this. So I'd go on those roller coasters and the higher ones, and then I'd go on that Superman one, and I'd be up there. And it's like it's not that's not scary, but I'm overcoming that fear and that lie of if you go into this uncomfortable situation, then you're over for, you're done for, you're destroyed, you're blah. And it's a lie. You need to overcome that. And that is part of this challenge, this game of life of overcoming those. If you overcome those lies, try it for a day. See how it is to face every one of those fears and those discomforts that you don't like and don't want to do. Try it for a day, try it for a week, a month, try it for a year. Tell me if you're still the same person or even a fraction of that person today versus, or today versus in a year of doing it. Because have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. He gave us he told us he's given us to be courage, to be strong and courageous. Courage doesn't come because you're just courageous. It comes from actually going in and overcoming the thing that you're afraid of. That is what literal courage means by definition, is overcoming and going through that fear, is being scared and facing it anyways. It's being terrified of getting burned up by the dragon, but you go in the cave and you slay it to find the treasure. Not the treasure that's the princess, the treasure that is the you that you are called to be the safety, to be the strong one, to be the guardian, the helper, the guider. The treasure is who you are, who you could be, right? Who you could be is going to be in that cave of wonders. That cave of wonders is going to be guarded by that fire breathing dragon or snake or whatever you're scared of. But you got to be able to overcome overcome those lies. And it sucks. It's scary, absolutely. But eventually, after you say, screw you to fear enough times and you overcome those lies and those minor fears, you get to a point that like you don't get scared of anything, right? Not to say that you're stupid and you go off and do dumb, immature things, but you do not allow these types of everyday basic fears to overcome you. It is overcoming your mind, because your mind is where the fear is. The enemy's whispering in your ear. He's like, hey, lies, deceit, you can't do it. You're not good enough. You've never done that before. You're not up to their level. Remember that sin you did? Yeah, God remembers it. He's still mad at you. That's how he plays. Two truths and a lie. You did something wrong. It was wrong. And then God still is mad at you for it. He's like, oh, he didn't forgive you. It's like, God already forgave you. He died for it. Stop listening to those lies. Overcome that fear. And it sucks and it's hard. Absolutely. So if you're able to get in any kind of friend or group and you guys want to face those fears together, by all means. It's better to go and have a group than doing it on your own. But if you don't use that as an excuse to not be able to do it. There's plenty of stories where one guy went in and slayed the dragon. Now I want to go into some words here. The word metanoia, it's Greek. It means, well, it's the journey of changing one's mind, heart, self, or way of life. Or another way of thinking about it is the act of reforming or becoming anew. So metanoia literally means it's you're changing who you are. You're changing your heart. You are changing from who you were into who you could be, who you want to be, who God's called you to be. It is not just, I just do these things. It is actually the change of who you are. So you can actually become someone new. Because blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So when you are willing to actually take that chance and take that calling, that time, that change of who you are to actually become those things. If it's like, well, it's like, I'm not chasing righteousness. I'm too busy playing video games. Like, do you have any Call of Duties I have to catch up on? There's so many of them. Blessed are the merciful. Well, you know what? I don't, I have an anger issue. So I don't give people too much mercy. I believe that these types of people should be burned up and die and strung up and whatever. It's like, I'm not a merciful person. The pure in heart, right? It's like, I'm not, my heart's not pure. I'm whatever. I'm an evil, bad person. I've, killed a lot of people in my life. I'm all types of whatever. God didn't say come as you want to be. He didn't say come fixed. He said come as you are, right? So if you go to him broken and you allow him to change your heart, he will change your heart. I know this because that's what he did for me as well. If that wasn't straightforward and obvious as of yet, he can and will change all of it. And it took a long time, but it's a very gradual process that he's got to do. But you have to be willing to go with it. Because here's the thing, the two most important days in life are the day you are born and the day you discover the reason why. So we were born and whatnot, but I wasn't actually born until just over 2 years ago, because the whole almost 25 years of life were a waste. That nothing was done, nothing was learned. All that time, something more could have been done, but I did not live. I was not alive yet until just about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now, because I didn't allow God to take that metanoia and change my heart. And I had to go to him for that. I had to go to him and say, I give this to you. Here's the problems. Here's what's going on. I know you already know all this. I'm just making sure that I'm getting it all out so that you know about it, and blah, 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 prayers, talking, working on, reading, etc. And he went through the process. But metanoia is changing. It is the absolute change of who you are. It's becoming someone new. It's an entire new way of life. So no matter how far off the path you are, or you think you are, you could be on the edge, you could be miles away. But regardless of what it is, God will bring you back and he'll put you on the path and he'll get you on the right one going to him. But you have to be willing to allow that heart to change. Doesn't mean, oh my God, now I'm going to be a monk, or, I'm going to go be sitting in a temple meditating all day. And, all I'm allowed to do is work with the poor, and I can make no money and I can have no fun. That's not what it means to serve God. It's a whole other situation, but he doesn't call us to hate this life. He wanted us to enjoy it. We're gonna see how this pronunciation goes. Epanthorthosis. Anyways, another good word that we're gonna go through, a Greek word, and it means the restoration, right? It means restoration as in it's being brought back up to where it should be, right? It means a correction of going from of improvement of life or character. So if you were at this place in life and if you were like down, right? So Joseph was in the dungeon, not because he deserved it, not because any of it, not because he didn't do the right thing, not because he wasn't honest or any of the stuff, but he was in there for a while. He was in there and suffered and was in there, but he still kept doing good. He still praised God. He still did all the right things. But eventually it took time and it took time, but eventually God got him out. Not got him out, but he allowed the timing to go on and he corrected the situation, right? Joseph went from being in the dungeon, where he did not belong, suffering down there, to being put into the second highest position of authority in Egypt, which was the most powerful nation at the time by far, biggest, strongest, best. So there's a correction, right? He brought Joseph up into being his upright state of who he should be and who he was supposed to be. But obviously he had a calling down here that he had to do. Time had to go on. All the pieces had to align the way God needed to allow his purpose and plan to go through. So even though you're in jail or in the dungeon, in the pits, in the wherever kind of hell you think you're at, if you give that over to God, he will get you out at some point, right? You just got to keep pressing in and trusting. And again, it's going to take time, but the correction will happen, right? Whether it's in this life by tomorrow, whether it's once you ask for it, whatever the case is, or whether it's at the end of life, whether it's years down the road, the improvement will happen and it will change. And you can go from being at the bottom to the top, but you got to give that to God and you got to allow this whole state of correction to take place. Now, one more. Probably going to butcher this, but Ensterquilinius invenitur. Yeah, I probably just said that in gibberish, but it is Latin for "in filth it will be found." So what you were, and Jordan Peterson talks about this so much, obviously where I got this and looked into it, and it's the concept of what you are most looking for will be where you least want to look. If you want to be strong and courageous, you need to look at the monster under the bed, right? If you want to take care of and save your family, your village, your country, well, then you need to go and face the dragon that's in the cave, right? You need to overcome whatever it is that you're afraid of. And facing it again is courageous. Courage comes from facing the fear and going towards it, not running from it, right? Not just because people are born courageous, they face things and then they become courageous. And you do enough of those, you end up taking all the past experience and applying it to where you're at into tomorrow. And then every battle, every time it builds up. And then you become courageous because you've been doing it and you are facing that fear and you're going at it, sword and all, right? Facing whatever that lie and evil and suffering is. So what you're most looking for is going to be where you least want to look. Going to where you don't want to go, facing that fear, going through it, not going around it, not going over it or under it, going through it, facing it head on, breaking it down, breaking those barriers of that lie. Because again, that mountain can really just be a grain of sand, right? It can be as small as it can be as simple as the smallest thing. Again, the enemy looks big and scary, but in all honesty, he's just a little sad thing over in the corner, faking it. Powerful nonetheless, but that it can't be used on us directly. It has to be used through people. So his greatest weapon has always been the tongue, the lies. He tells one a lie, that person has the power to go hurt this person. That's how he works. He doesn't work because he's able to just come up and like beat people up. He's not there. He's too scared. He can't take that on. But that lie, that fear, you need to face whatever your fear is. Whether it's being a dad, whether it's being a husband, whether it's being worthy, whether it's making your dad proud, whether it's making God proud, whatever it may be, right? Whether it's getting good on a test, no matter how small or big it is, whatever your fear is in that moment, you need to face it. Because where the fear is, where that filth is that you don't want to deal with, that is where the best you will be. And that is where you're going to find it, in the deepest, darkest holes, guarded by the dragon. But the dragon is not really all that scary, and it's not that powerful. You are stronger than the dragon. Go into it knowing that. If you understand that you are more powerful, because God gave you that, right? In the Great Commission, Christ says, go heal the sick, go cast out demons, Go tell people about me. Go tell them the good news. Go help them. Go guide them. He gave us the power to do certain things. And right now, for the most part, we don't want to do it. We're running away from it. So if you want to be strong, then face the fear, the discomfort. Go face it. As always, guys, I want to remind you that God does not call the qualified, but he qualifies the called. I'm not qualified in the slightest about anything. But after I realized and recognized that he called me to something, and I was willing to accept that and fully believe it. And now, no matter any and all these lies and confusions and problems that I deal with right now and in the future, I know what the calling is. I know what the purpose is. I know what the truth is. And it's not going to keep me from doing and being what he's called me to do and be. Not because I was qualified, because I was some awesome, built up, amazing, perfect something. I was the opposite. It was only whenever I gave that power and control over to the only one who deserved to have it more than me, which was God. I gave that over to him. And then he has been qualifying me, still building, still learning, and I will to the day I die, which won't be for a really long time because, I can't die. Not anytime soon. I got a long ways to go, and he's got a lot for me. And accept that was actually probably my biggest journey and dragon to overcome, was thinking that I was actually worthy and deserving of something, purpose, love, God's guidance, any of it. And because I went my entire life of telling myself the opposite. So I believed I was such less than. So if it's true for me, it's absolutely true for you. And and I can't wait till the day that you guys are able to fully understand and accept this and believe in it and apply it to your life. Because once you pass that hurdle, once you overcome those lies, once you get through that barrier of absolute lies and BS, it is just the blinders off and you see the world in a completely different way. So it's fascinating, to say the least, and it's great. I really pray that God's able to reach and touch into each and every one of your lives and work with you with where you're at. And well, I mean, of course he can, but I just pray that he's willing to allow whoever it is to plant the seeds to be able to help and guide you along that way. So anyways, uh, you guys have any questions? Oh, look at that. I didn't change that one. It was fearful of females before, but but it's better if it was fear, blah, 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 words. If it was face your fears. But anyways, but yeah, so face whatever it is. And for a lot of us, it is or was females as well. But anyways, anything you guys need, any thoughts, let me know. Great to talk to you guys. And until next time, y'all have a blessed day. And hope this was able to help. See you guys later.